Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. We had the UFC 18, Fight Night 18 Vegas happen on Saturday night, and we might as well go right into the main event. Alistair Overeem, the Demolition Man, was demolished by Alex Drago Volkov. I saw today that Overeem said that he broke his nose severely early on in the fight, and he was trying to, keep his guard up to try to not take more blows on it because it was causing him massive amount of pain, and he just it just took him out of his game plan. He wasn't able to withstand the onslaught by Volkov, and Volkov, it was vaulted himself up the ladder into that title picture. Poor Overeem. I'm glad he finally fell down and they stopped the fight because he was taking a really bad beating.
Oh yeah, he got whooped. He got beaten thoroughly. I think Overeem in the beginning of the fight thought he could stand with Volkov.
Yeah.
That was the wrong approach. He should have taken him to the ground immediately.
Yeah.
You should have grappled with him because we don't know. Like Volkov, obviously, his stand-up is second to none. He's one of the best in the heavyweight division. Grappling, not so much.
Yeah.
I think Overeem could have taken advantage of that, but I think he thought to himself, I can stand with this guy and bang. But then after he destroyed his nose and his face, not so much. Not so much.
No.
And it was just a slow, methodical destruction. He just took him apart after that first round. And especially in the second round. Once the second round came around and he got hit with that straight right, that just really shook him. The writing was on the wall after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see this this dominating of a performance from Volkov. I thought Overeem, the way he had been fighting in the last while, he really methodical and slow, and was able to take guys down. He didn't his game plan just went out the window. No takedowns. He was thoroughly beat, and Volkov moves himself up the ladder. A lot of talk today that he might face the winner between Rosenstrike and Cyril Gane.
Oh, that would be very interesting because obviously whoever wins between those two and then Volkov fights, then he's fighting for the belt.
Yeah.
Clearly, like that's it. Like he's got to be fighting for the belt immediately after that fact. So, but both of those guys offer their own difficulties for Volkov. They should be great fights, either one, whoever comes out of that fight to fight him.
Okay, the co-main event, it sure didn't last long. We saw a legend enter the cage. Frank Edgar has a ton of records. He's been in the cage longer than any other fighter in UFC history. Has moved down in weight to a more natural weight that a lot of people thought he should fight at most of his career. Had a lot of success against Pedro Munoz. Looked really good. He got caught by a flying knee to Sandhagen, who is a heck of a lot taller, has a lot longer reach, and he caught Frankie with a really tough flying knee that put Frankie out for quite a while, and it was a bit scary. I could hear a pin drop in that arena after that knockout.
Okay, first off, I'll give Corey Sandhagen all the credit in the world because of the way that he set up that flying knee.
Yeah.
He drew him in. He drew him in like a freaking matador.
Yeah.
And once he saw Frankie shoot, it was perfect. Pinpoint accuracy. It was a perfect strike. And it was almost as if he saw it coming in his head. Like it was predestined to work because he set it up that well. Yeah. But with the way the knockout happened and the way that he kind of fell over like a tree, it was scary because he was completely out. And even after the fact, after he got up and everything, you could still tell he was still out on his feet, really, because he was very wooden when he stepped out of the cage. Like that's the kind of knockout that he's probably going to suffer for a little while. because of that knockout. But end of the day, Sandhagen really cemented the fact that he deserves a shot because he just took out two of the main guys, two legends in there back to back with miraculous knockouts. Yeah. Just this high level knockout. So he deserves a chance at now Peter Yan because you can't make him any more of a statement than what he did with his last two fights. You just can't.
Peter Yan is fighting Aljamain Sterling March 26th. Who wins that fight?
Oh man, that's gonna be a good fight. That's gonna be a good fight because Sandhagen did say, after Aljo, because Sandhagen did give Aljo a lot of props. He gave him his run, saying that he deserves that fight against Peter Yan. I still think Yan takes it, but I think it's going to be a very, very tough fight. It's not going to be an easy fight, no. But I think Yan has shown that Eastern Bloc toughness that you just don't get from other fighters. Where clearly you've been fighting bears or polar bears or something up in the mountains, wherever the heck you're from. So I expect a very good fight, but I think Yan will come out with the victory.
Corey Sandhagen lost to Aljamain Sterling by a rear naked choke at UFC 250. That was just in June 2020. Really early, 1.5 minutes into that first round, and it seemed to really knock him down a few pegs, but that spinning wheel kick and then punches to Marlon Moraes, and then the way this flying knee went on, suddenly now he's back in the title picture 6 months, 7 months later, whatever it is now. Pretty great resurrection after losing a one-sided affair to Aljo then.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly he's turned around, but also too, you could argue just how quickly he's improved. Yeah. Because he took that loss against Aljo, corrected some things, obviously some weaknesses in his fight game, and now look at what he is. Just came back with a fury. Yeah. That was such a fury that he cannot be ignored anymore. You can't ignore that guy.
We talked about we talked about earlier when we were talking about football and people calling for Tom Brady to retire. I heard people tell me that Frankie Edgar should retire now. Alistair Overeem should retire. It's a different sport, a little tougher. When you suffer these knockouts, it can be devastating. But I don't think Frankie Edgar should retire after this. He got caught. He made a mistake. He's still very relevant. I think he's still a very skilled guy. I think there can be a lot of really exciting fights made for him. And Dominic Cruz is the top of the list. I think that would be a perfect matchup for him. Maybe not these top three guys in this bantamweight division, but maybe some of the other guys that are around him in the rankings.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think he still has a lot left to give in the fight game. I think they both do. Yeah. I think just as long as you just don't begin to see the tells of maybe you've been fighting a little too long now, where they're beginning to slur their words or things of that nature, or they're forgetting things and yada yada yada. Yeah. The things that will kind of give you the impetus to say maybe it's getting close to me hanging them up.
Sure.
None of these two guys, these two individuals, Frankie and Overeem, don't have those things happening to them as of yet. Yeah. So that tells me that they can still go, they can still fight, they can still be relevant within their weight divisions, and they can still put on great fights. Yeah. And yes, Frankie got caught. It happens, man. It happens, especially when your opponent is of that highest skill level. You're going to get caught sometimes. And unfortunately, it was just of the spectacular variety.
No, I hope the best for both of them. They've been legends in this sport. I think they both deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And I don't want them to see suffer after effects. Before we move forward, I want to talk about a guy that was suffering after effects from blows to the head. Leon Spinks passed away this weekend. He was a legend in the sport, mostly because he beat Muhammad Ali and was the heavyweight champion for 7 months. Unfortunately, his training staff wasn't able to get him in the gym enough. During those 7 months, he partied and lived the high life for the heavyweight championship. And Muhammad Ali was able to beat him in the rematch. He had a lot of troubles in his life, due to boxing as well as some alcohol troubles. But him and his brother were legends in this sport.
Yes, they were, and they brought a lot to the boxing, to the ring, and a lot of entertainment to the fans. And our condolences go out to the family.
Yeah. Okay, there was a lightweight fight between two veterans, two guys that have been in the cage a lot over the years. I think one had been in the cage 30 times, the other 24. Clay Guida and Michael Johnson had a battle, and it went to a decision. Clay Guida was fantastic in this fight and really deserved the decision victory.
Yeah, man. Clay Guida did Clay Guida type fight, pace and pressure. A lot of pace and a lot of pressure all the time.
Yeah.
And like he's just on you completely, and he never lets you off the hook. But the one thing that I thought was a little bit different this time around that I haven't seen for a while, his right hand, very educated right hand. He tagged Michael Johnson quite a bit with that right hand.
Yeah.
And even though Johnson had clearly the quicker hands, but he still got caught. He got rocked a couple times with that right hand from Clay Guida. But at the end of the day, what really won Clay Guida the match was his pace and his pressure. His constant pressure, his constant attack on Michael Johnson, and that's what got him the ring.
Yeah, no, it was great to see him. He was really excited. He said his last victory came against the legendary BJ Penn, and he had a little bit of a drought, so he was really wanted to get back in that winner's circle. Michael Johnson's lost 4 in a row now. Could be, looking for a job, possibly not in the UFC anymore. But I just want to go down the list of guys that Michael Johnson has fought in his career. It's absolutely incredible. He fought Gaethje, Khabib, Poirier, Nate Diaz, Dariush, Barboza. He beat Barboza. He beat Poirier, Melvin Gillard, Gleison Tebow, Joe Lozon, Tony Ferguson. Just unbelievable, the incredible talented fighters that he fought in his career.
Oh yeah, like he's a legend, and there's a reason why his record is the way it is, because you don't go through a killer's row like that and come out like unfazed. You know what I mean? Like he really fought the best of the best for the entirety of his career.
Yeah, he sure did. Yeah. The debut for Manel Kape didn't go according to plan. He was very shocked at the decision, and the commentators weren't, and I think because of that, most people expected Pantoja to win. Kape was really accurate in his debut. Didn't have a lot of output. Everything he was throwing was landing, but for some reason he let Pantoja hit him a lot more, take a lot more strikes, and eventually take this win.
Unfortunately, Kape, yes, he was very accurate with his strikes and his counters. He just wasn't busy enough.
Yeah, that
was the difference. He just didn't throw enough. He did not match the output that Pantoja put out there.
Yep.
And that's why Pantoja won, and that's why he lost. Yeah. It's as simple as that. He just did not throw enough strikes to put himself or give himself the ability to possibly win that fight. He just didn't do that.
Yeah.
Why he didn't do that, I don't know, but that's why Pantoja won. That was the difference.
He looks incredible. Great movement, really athletic. And his UFC debut, I thought, wow, he looks confident, but his output was just not there. And when he watches the tape, hopefully he'll realize there wasn't a shock when the decision went to Pantoja. There was, it was a good stand-up battle, and I enjoyed it. But I hate seeing a guy that shocked when the cards are red. But yeah, for some reason he didn't know he was behind, and he took the loss. So we'll see. Hopefully, a different guy when we see him step into the cage again. Tell me about this lightweight fight between Beneil Dariush and Carlos Ferreira.
Well, first off, I want to say this. Okay, well, let's go with the fight. Dario Ferreira, great fight. Split decision win for Dariush. It was such a back and forth affair. I believe this was probably the best fight on the card. Nice. And it was freaking awesome. It was awesome. It was back and forth on the ground, on the stand up. It was tit for tat. It was close. I thought that Dariush won with the difference in the grappling affairs and the exchanges. That's how he won the fight. But what I was more impressed with was how Dariush felt very disrespected by the UFC for making this particular fight. Because he thought he should have been fighting somebody further up the ladder. And he also thought Ferreira should definitely have been fighting somebody further up the ladder. He thought that this fight didn't need to happen because in his terms, and this is kind of amazing to hear from Dariush, this was his toughest fight. This guy was that tough. Wow. And he didn't wilt and he didn't bend. He hit him with shots. You could tell that he was shook up, Ferreira, but Ferreira came right back, shook him up. He said, by far and away, my toughest fight I've ever had in UFC. All right?
Yeah.
And then that tells me something. That tells me that I think Dariush has a point. He's now won 6 in a row. Before that was 5 in a row. Why wasn't he fighting somebody further up the ladder? Why did he have to fight this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I like the fact that he felt disrespected by the UFC. And I love the fact that he's saying, no, man, I deserve a top 5 now. Give me that.
Yeah.
Give me that right now.
No, I was surprised too. Dariush is definitely more of a name, and he beat him. This is the second time he beat him. He beat him back at UFC 179, October of 2014 in Rio. Was able to win a unanimous decision, and 6 years, a long time. Dariush has been in the mix up there for a lot of years, and Ferreira just really hasn't. So hopefully, they listen to him and give him a legitimate shot at somebody high up the ladder. And he's fighting amazing. I've been super impressed with him. 6 fights in a win streak, and every time out he looks really, really, really good.
Yeah, and then also too, every time out he seems to be getting like those win bonuses and stuff. Yeah, because like he's putting on exciting fights. Like, so what are you waiting for, UFC? Get him up there. Get him some meaningful fights so you can start pushing towards a championship fight.
Yeah,
I think he's earned it.
Totally. Yeah, you're right. The light heavyweight battle between Danilo Marquez and Mike Slow Rodriguez started off the main card. Submission, rear naked choke win right at the end of the second round for Marquez. Once he got that fight to the ground, he looked, like his submission game was fantastic.
Yeah, he was completely dominant once he managed to drag Rodriguez to the ground, and Rodriguez just didn't seem to have the skill set to manage to get up. Or I should maybe be more specific by saying he accepted being on the ground.
Yeah.
And that was a place he could not accept to be, because Marquez is just that much better on the ground in that affair. But I'll give Rodriguez credit. He went out on his shield. He kept fighting until he went to sleep for a little while. So, you know what? But great win by Marquez. Great win by Marquez for him to get the back the way that he did and get the rear naked choke for the finish.
Yeah, no, he looked great. 5.5 inch reach advantage. He took advantage of really cool takedown that he had. He really figured out how to get his back and flip him over, and then sink in that rear naked choke a couple of different ways, and finally get him to go to sleep. So it was a good win. Our prelim card, the feature fight was Devonte Smith beating the Guitar Hero Justin James. Devonte had been on a hiatus, hadn't fought in a while, but man, he's good. He's finished all 10 of his wins, 9 KOs. Once he had James on the ground and started landing elbows and punches. That eye was swollen really fast, and yeah, they weren't allowing him to continue. He couldn't see out of that eye, and they just said, that's it.
No, that was the right decision. That eye was a mess. Dude, it looked like to me he could have broke his orbital bone with how badly that eye was messed up. So you cannot take a chance with that. I'm pretty sure James needs it to, I don't know, see. Seeing is important. So yes, good stoppage. Great win by Smith.
Yeah. He had an 8-inch reach advantage in this fight. Justin James came out of the gate with a huge win, his first fight, but he's taken a couple losses now. And I thought this was a fight where Devonte Smith was definitely, way better of a fighter, and it was a little bit of an overmatch, I think, for James. So, yeah, I was glad that they called it. There could have been some serious eye damage if they didn't call it there. Okay, a couple of women's fights. Carol Rosa had a decision win over Jocelyn Edwards, who was fighting 3 weeks after her last fight. Yeah, great women's battle there.
Yeah. Rosa was pretty much dominant everywhere the fight went. On the feet, I thought Edwards might have had like the advantage on the feet. She did not. And Rosa definitely had the advantage in the grappling affairs, like in the transitions between the up and the down and stuff like that. Rosa looked absolutely fantastic in all elements of this fight, and a dominant win on her part.
One of her main training partners is Jessica Andrade, who's an absolute beast and a killer. I was really impressed with Jocelyn Edwards' performance 3 weeks ago. This Panamanian fighter looked great, and yeah, I thought she was going to dominate the stand-up game, but Rosa was just fantastic on the feet and on the ground, and yeah, took a really, really great victory. And then there was a decision in the women's flyweight fight between Laura Procopio and Molly Meatball McCann. What'd you think of this one?
I unfortunately McCann. I love McCann's will, but her grappling still needs work, and that's where Procopio took advantage of that. She took advantage of that. Once she got top position on McCann, it took everything for McCann to fight out of that to get up, and then Procopio put her right back down again. Yeah. And that was really the difference in this fight. Procopio had the advantage in the grappling affairs, controlled top position, and really didn't ever let her off the hook, and controlled her there and won the fight.
Molly left her gloves in the octagon when she finished the fight, and there was speculation that she was walking away. That is sort of a universal symbol for I'm retiring, but she said that it was her father's birthday. Her father actually never got to see her compete in the UFC. He passed away a little bit before she did, but she said it was sort of poetic justice that it was on his birthday, and she wanted to do a bit of a tribute to him, and left her gloves there in the cage just to say happy birthday, Dad. And yeah, it was a pretty neat gesture.
Yeah, that was a cool gesture on her part for something that's painful to relive and such, but very cool gesture on her part.
Okay, tell me about the featherweight fight between Yusuf Zalal and Cho Sing Woo. I thought Zalal was definitely going to take this. He's looked fantastic recently. He had a really amazing 2020, having 3 wins there, but Choi was the better fighter.
Choi was the better fighter. And it's funny seeing rangy fighters fight each other, but Choi was actually the rangier fighter, and he used that distance management more effectively than Zalal did. Yeah. I thought just his stand-up was just crisper, more effective, better combinations being thrown. And also, too, when Zalal took him to the ground, Choi never accepted being in that down position. Never accepted it. Always fought his way back up to standing and made the fight excessively tough for Zalal to try to win, because he didn't really give him too many avenues to win that fight. And that's why Choi won the fight.
Yeah. No, that Korean fighter, yeah, he looked great. Zalal had wins in 2020, February, June, and August. He had 3 big wins there, and then he fought in October. He lost a decision, and yeah, Zalal was somebody that was on a lot of people's radar, moving right up the ranks. 4 fights in 2020, but yeah, Choi stopped the freight train there, and this featherweight fight between Timur Valiev and Martin Day, yeah, it was not a good matchmaking fight. Martin Day to me was super overmatched, and Valiev had his way with him. But yeah, it lasted 15 minutes, but Valiev was the way better fighter.
He kind of like, I don't know, dominated him like severely. The whole fight, like
yeah.
It was kind of looking at a pro going against an amateur at times, where you're just like, oh man, this is not the greatest. But hey, Day was game. He tried, but he was overmatched.
In the opening fight, Osborne was fighting, and I was like, oh, okay, I got to watch the Prince of Darkness fight. This is going to be interesting. And then, oh no, it's Audie Osborne. Oh, okay, he's a Jamaican guy. Yeah, you're one of your countrymen. He had a great performance, had a big knockout victory. Yeah, what'd you think of the Jamaican?
Man, he came up on the scene pretty nice, man. Especially with his first fight in the UFC with a sweet knockout. Did fantastic. Got it done. Got the jitters out of the way and got his first UFC win. So, my fellow Jamaican's on his way. He's on his way.
It was amazing how he caught the foot and then just a straight left to just knock him down and then swarm him. And yeah, he was thrown off by Chris Tione 26 seconds in, but really, really skilled and great to be able to take the win really quick.
Oh, yeah, of course, because you know what? You want to make an impact, especially for Dana, because he likes people that do that impact right away. Yeah. And it doesn't get any better than dispatching your foe in less than 30 seconds.
So. Yeah, holy cow. He was a football and wrestling star in college, grew up in Milwaukee. He said he's going up in weight to a natural weight of 145. And but it was an amazing debut. And yeah, I was super impressed. Man, he's looking good. He called out Davison Figueiredo's brother. So yeah, let's hope he gets his wish and we can see him really soon in the cage again.
Yeah, well, if Davison's brother is ready to go, I guess he got one of the Figueiredos, so good enough, right? Starting up right away, so good for him.
Yeah, it's cool to see. At least he had somebody in mind and went to DC the interview and called them out. And yeah, great to see Jamaicans doing well. Always love it. Always think of you when I see them coming in, rocking the flag. And yeah, there's some tough Jamaicans out there for sure.
Oh, yes, there is. We're coming. We're coming into the UFC now.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, so it was a fun UFC as always. One of the great fight nights. A lot of interesting fights, and yeah, thanks for that breakdown. It was really great. Why don't we look ahead to next Saturday, UFC 258, and the battle of teammates in the main event. 2 guys that spent a lot of years as teammates. Kamaru Usman decided he was leaving the team and went to Colorado. Went with Trevor Whitman, Justin Gaethje, those guys over there. He got some really good training partners there. But yeah, what do you think? We don't see teammates fighting each other very much. What do you think of this battle between Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns?
I think this might be Kamaru's toughest test because he's got to fight a guy that's very familiar with all his tricks and all this other stuff. Very familiar with his strengths and his weaknesses. But on the opposite side, Kamaru is very familiar with Gilbert Burns' strengths and weaknesses as well. So that means that new wrinkles have to be instituted and put into their games that the other hasn't seen yet or hasn't seen before.
Sure.
So I think that will be the difference on who can institute those little wrinkles, those slight changes in the game to throw the other guy off to get the advantage, to get the win.
Yeah.
But I sincerely think that this is going to be a very, very, very tough test for Kamaru. I don't know if he can win this fight. I think this is, like I said, it's going to be a very tough test, but I'm super excited to see the fight because I think it's going to be a very, very close contest.
Yeah. Looking back at Kamaru's, recent fights, win over Masvidal, beat Colby Covington with a TKO, beat Woodley with a decision, RDA. Maya had a really amazing fight. He's on a 16-fight winning streak and just looking really, really good. He was able to convince Eddie Alvarez to come and be one of his main training partners. And Gilbert Burns, even though he stayed at their training facility in Florida, Henry Hoof said he refuses to coach either fighter. So he doesn't even get his normal, stand-up coach. And Henry Hoof will not be in the corner of either guy. So I think it was a bit of a disadvantage to Burns.
Yeah, a little bit. But at the same time, I respect Hoof's choice because he respects both of his guys to the utmost. So he doesn't want to feel that he's giving either one of them an advantage. So he's just out. And I respect that choice. I really do.
Sure. Yeah, me too. And Gilbert Burns has had a lot of the same types of fighters recently. He beat Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia, Gunnar Nelson, and then some of his sort of lesser fights a little bit in there. And then he fought also Dan Hooker, the Canadian Olivier Aubin Mercier. I just think, I don't know. I think Kamaru Usman's just too skilled, too talented. I think Burns is more powerful, I would say, but I think that Usman's probably going to take this fight and continue this winning streak and retain the title.
It could play out that way. It could, but Kamaru's best chance of winning this fight is obviously to take him to the ground and do his ground and pound. Now, if Gilbert Burns has worked on that takedown defense and makes it exceedingly hard for Kamaru to take him down, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
that would be the crack that Gilbert needs to win this fight. I truly believe that. If he can do that consistently, and that's where within a 5-round match, that's going to be real hard to do for 5 rounds. But if he can do that for the 5 rounds, Kamaru's going to have some problems.
Yeah. I'm going to try to dig into this team a little bit. I'm going to see if anybody, any of their teammates, reveal some things. Maybe one guy had definite advantage over the other guy in training. There was some flash KO that happened, some little insider information. Hopefully I'll be able to share that with you and some of our viewers and listeners through the week. But yeah, this happens very rarely where teammates end up fighting. And I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is definitely Usman's toughest test ever. And Burns is on a mission to get the belt. But I think Usman's a bit better. So.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're going to find out because you know what? Now that I keep saying it, I think I'm going to go with Burns on this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Gilbert. You're gonna take Usman, and we're gonna see what happens.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, we have a few other fights I want to mention on this card. Really stacked card. Kelvin Gastelum against Ian Heinisch. What do you think we're gonna see there?
I think we're gonna see a great fight because Ian Heinisch is overall he's got a very well-rounded game, and he's gonna need all of that against Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah.
It depends on which version of Kelvin Gastelum we see. As long as he's super motivated, he could definitely win this fight.
Yep.
But we need to see which version of Kelvin we're going to see, man.
Yeah.
Are we going? And also, too, is he going to be in shape? Has he trained hard enough?
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I hope he doesn't have any problems on the scale since he's gone up to. He's fighting this at 185, correct? Yeah. Yep. So since he's gone up, he shouldn't have a problem with that. But at the same time, he still had He's had problems with his weight before. So as long as he's motivated, he's on point with his weight and all that sort of stuff. Kelvin Gastelum, I can see him winning this fight, but it's not. This is not an easy fight. This is a very tough fight against a very game Ian Heinisch.
Yeah, definitely. Bantamweight fight, Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera is going to be a great battle. Then we've got Jim Miller and Bobby Green, two veterans fighting there. I'm really looking forward to seeing those guys go to battle.
Yeah, seeing the vets go at it, and Bobby Green's been on a tear as of late too as well. I am very much looking forward to this fight. I think this is going to be a great fight.
Yeah,
this could be the fight of the night. That
yeah.
one, right?
Yeah, well, the UFC is off to a roaring start. 2020, I think, was one of the greatest years for the UFC. We saw just so many incredible fight cards and great battles. And yeah, it's already been a lot of fun so far. We're getting into early February, and we've got another pay-per-view already. I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a great start for the UFC for this calendar year. And fights, and more fights. All right, let's get it going.
Let's get it going, yeah. Let's end really quickly with some basketball. There was rumors this weekend, over the last few days actually, that Kyle Lowry's on the trade block for the Raptors. Pretty shocking news.
Shocking, but not really. I'm not surprised because of the emergence of Fred VanVleet. The man just scored 54 points the other day. And that's never been done by an undrafted player ever.
Yeah.
And so
made history.
He's made history. So with that being said, and with him just consistently showing and proving that he can lead and quarterback that team, I'm not surprised that Kyle Lowry is now on the trading block. But they're only going to trade him if they can get the necessary pieces that they need for that team.
Yeah.
They're not just going to trade him for anything. So we'll see what happens down the line here. But like I said, Masai Ujiri is probably looking for specific pieces for that team if he's going to trade a player the caliber of Kyle Lowry.
Yeah. Raptors are 10-13. They've been up and down all year. They had a win tonight, 128-113 over the Grizzlies. Kind of nice to see them face the Grizzlies. It makes me reminisce about the old Toronto-Vancouver days. John Morant is playing great there, but yeah, Toronto had the win, and Fred VanVleet is just that performance the other night was just spectacular. I watched it, and I just couldn't believe how accurate, he only took 23 shots and got 54 points. Incredible for a guy that's undrafted, very undersized, not athletic as a lot of other guys, but just a heart that's bigger than his body, and determination and never say die attitude. And what an incredible game he had. Yeah,
what an incredible game, because like I have to say that backcourt of Freddie and Kyle, that's probably the toughest backcourt in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because they're both of the same sort of mindset where they're just going to come after you and they're going to keep coming. And regardless of their size or what they bring to the table, they're going to give their best all the time.
Yeah.
Even if they're struggling offensively, then they're just going to D you up as hard as they can. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that those guys bring it every game all the time.
Lowry was hurt going into the game. He only played 8 minutes tonight, 4 points, left the game early. Fred tonight had 32 points, 9 assists. Siakam had 32 points as well, and Norm Powell had 29. So really good contributions from a few guys. And Chris Boucher, what a great performance he's had recently. This Canadian guy, skinny as a tree, but oh man, he 29-10 the other night against Atlanta, 12-10 tonight. And great to see how much heart he has as well. He comes off the bench and provides a big spark for them almost immediately.
Yeah, Boucher's been having a great season thus far. He's really added something to the Raptors, and his progression has been very much noticed, like across the league. So as long as he continues to keep growing as a player, I think his upside is going to be immense going forward with the team.
Just looking at the East, 76ers are leading the way, 17-7 record. Bucks second, New Jersey third, or Brooklyn, sorry, third. Celtics fourth, Pacers, Hawks, Hornets, and Knicks. Knicks just made a trade today, got Derrick Rose out of Detroit for Dennis Smith Jr. in a draft pick. Pretty good move for the Knicks.
Yeah, you know, like Derrick Rose has shown that he can still play. And, you know, he's still effective somewhat, but I think personally that the Pistons got the better of that trade because they got a younger player in Dennis Smith Jr., who is trying to get better at his craft because he actually requested to go down to the G League because he wasn't getting the time with the team that he needed to get better. And I like that. I like seeing a player take the initiative to say, you know what? Okay, that's fine if I'm not playing here, but then send me somewhere where I can get better. And so I think that the Pistons may have a winner on their hands, but he needs to develop a little bit further. His game needs to come further along, but he's very much aware of that. And I always root for a player that knows his deficiencies is trying to get better. So.
Yeah. I think the thing that I notice about this deal is that Derrick Rose is reunited with Coach Tom Thibodeau that he was coaching him in some of his most successful years in Chicago. They know each other really well. That's a good relationship, and I think he might be able to get the best out of it. RJ Barrett has actually had an absolutely fantastic second year. He struggled a little bit last year, but I've seen him emerge and play really fantastic this year.
Yes, and also too, he's put in the work because as soon as the Knicks were done with their season, he has been working on his game consistently and constantly ever since. And so the Knicks, I believe, up until the point he hadn't been in a professional game for like 7 months.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that he's been putting in that much work all the time, and it's showing. It's showing right now on the court. And so I couldn't be happier for the young man.
Yeah, and nice for Rose to be able to leave the worst team in the East. Pistons bottom of the East and get into a possible playoff position. The Knicks at 8, Raptors at 9. The team that's shocking me right now is the Heat. 9-14 record after going to the NBA final last year. They won their last 2. They were 7-14 up until the last couple of games. What's wrong with the Heat?
You know what? I want to say it might have something to do with the oddness of this beginning of this starting for this year. I think there's a lot of odd things happening for the start of this NBA season, and their record is one of them for sure. Yeah. And also too, I believe the COVID protocols has affected that team negatively. They've missed some players who haven't been able to play with the team for games, for 3 or 4 game spans and stuff. So I would say that, you know what, it's not time to panic just as of yet. There's still time for the team to get back on track and all that sort of stuff. But right now, they're just not looking very good.
Yeah. Switching to the Western Conference, Utah Jazz are the top team in the NBA right now, 19-5 record, 10-3 in the conference, 9-2 at home, 10-3 and away. Last 10, 9 wins, 1 loss, 4 straight. Man, the Jazz are just they've really pulled it together.
Yeah. You know what? And I think they're coming together and they're pulling it together because of those very offside comments that Shaq made about Spider Mitchell. I think that might have been a catalyst for the entirety of the team. You know what I mean? Because it's just even with the way that Shaq made those comments, there's nothing constructive criticism there. It was just criticism. It was just the old heads hating on the new heads, and I didn't like it at all.
No, because
I like the fact, I love those guys as a squad when they actually have something to say. But if they got nothing to say, you know what, guys, keep your mouth shut. Shut up. You know what I mean? Right. I don't want to hear that. I don't. Yeah. And the young guys don't need to hear that too, because they do look up to you. But when you say nonsense like that, then there's nothing to look up to at all. period. So
there was a really strange thing that happened. Actually, I want to talk about the East. There was a really strange thing that happened with Kevin Durant the other night. He didn't start the game. They said there was some contact COVID protocols. He was in the locker room when the game started. He came out and took the floor. Played a few minutes, and then all of a sudden they ended up saying, nope, sorry, you can't play. Made him go back to the locker room. Now he's out the next 3 games. Did you hear much about this story?
I did. Okay, so here's the thing. It's too freaking late. You let him out on the court. So that means he contaminated everybody. It's too late now.
Yeah.
So what? So you're gonna try to make it better by saying, well, I guess we messed up, so we're just gonna take you out of the game again. No, man, it is actually way too late. So for the future, going forward, if there's a question mark, you don't know for sure, I guess that guy just can't play. Yeah. Period. You cannot let him on the court. That was a failure on the organization's part, and probably more importantly, the NBA's part. You can't do that, and you can't have it happen again. You really can't. No. Or else you just totally screw over 2 organizations just like that.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it was brutal. It was I was shocked that they allowed him to come play, and then to take him back off the floor. It was it was really weird, and handled very wrong. So hopefully we don't see that again. Did you catch any of the Warriors Mavericks game the other night? One of the most fun games I've seen in a long time. Steph Curry against Luka Doncic. What a phenomenal battle it was all night long.
Pretty sure I watched a different game, but I missed it, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. I'm going to go over some of their statistics. It ended up 134-132 win by the Mavs. Steph Curry had 57 in 37 minutes, and Luka had 42, 11, and 7. It was magical, Jay. I just loved it. Just 2 incredible superstars going back and forth, and it came down to last bucket win. Classic NBA. Great. Not a lot of defense, but man, was it fun to watch.
Yeah, that's the thing with the NBA lately. Not a lot of D, but man, is there a lot of O. And that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm just happy to see Steph come back to being Steph again. Yeah. And just bombing away at threes. I think he's hit the most amount of threes out of any player so far this year again. So his accuracy is right there. And the Warriors, even without Clay, they're playing well. Yeah. They're playing really well right now. So it's a cool thing to see. It's cool to see, man.
Yeah, it's good to see them above 500. They're in a playoff position right now. They're trying to hold off the Kings. The Kings are 7-1 in their last 8, 4 straight wins. They beat the Clippers last night, shockingly enough. And they're playing really well. They're trying to break a long playoff drought. De'Aaron Fox is the man there, and a lot of their other players are contributing really well as well. It's nice to see the Kings having a run here.
Yeah, because the last time they were relevant, I believe it was Chris Webber was there. It's been a long time. It's been a long time, and it's great to see that Kings fans have something to cheer about, because they got a really nice young squad and young team going forward.
The Suns are having a great start to the year. They're in 4th place. Nice to see that all that work in the bubble, going 8-0, still didn't make the playoffs, but nice to see them in a really solidified playoff position right now.
Yes, and also too, with the main addition being Chris Paul to help out Devin Booker, and obviously that's paying dividends upon dividends. And the team is really coming together with the addition of Paul and Jay Crowder. They got a nice squad, man, and they're going to be a problem come playoff time.
Yeah.
Big problem.
Out of the bottom dwellers in the Western Conference, I'm sad to see the Mavs down in 14th place, 10-14 to start the year, 3-7 in their last 10. Yeah, Luka can't do it all, but I thought they would be able to be a bit better than what they're doing.
One of the Mavs' problems right now is that their efficiency from the 3-point line, it's not where it was last year. And that is one of the most glaring differences from this team from last year, is they're just not hitting their open shots.
Yeah.
Once they start doing that, you're going to start seeing wins. But until that happens, they're gonna struggle.
Yeah, they sure are. Yeah. Well, man, nice to just talk a little bit of hoops. There are some games on right now, so yeah, I'll let you get to them. And thanks for doing this. I'm glad we were able to break down the UFC Fight Night and a little bit of the NBA. It was fun, man. Thanks so much.
Oh man, always a pleasure.
Okay, buddy, that's awesome. Yeah, no more football. So we'll have to talk about some other things. UFC 258 next Monday, I guess, to break it down. But yeah, have a great week and keep in touch. Thanks again.
No problem. Will do.
Okay.
See you later.
All right. Take care, man. All right. Bye for now. Okay. Well, yeah, we had a long podcast here. I think, yeah, we need to break it down into NFL, and then we'll do a basketball one, and we'll do a UFC one. But yeah, just I knew it was going to be a bit long today. That Super Bowl was so many things to talk about and break down, and as usual, we had a blast. Love my Mondays with Jason. Thanks for tuning in as always. Thanks for listening on the podcast platforms. I love you lots. We will talk very soon. Take care of yourself. Have a great week ahead. And yeah, thanks again. Bye for now.